Are you pursuing the life that you want? Or are you pursuing the life that your parents had wanted for you without even realizing it? How can you tell? And what do you do about it if so? Stay tuned and I'll show you. My name is Adam. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I help people transform their fear, trauma, and confusion into love, freedom, and clarity. When I was 18 years old, I was on the verge of getting a record deal. I was slated to play at the Roxy in Los Angeles in front of my friends and this very high-level record executive who was interested in signing me. Now, did I get it? Did I get the deal? I'll tell you in a second, but let me go back first. So when I was 3 years old, I fell in love with music. I loved music. It was my first love. I loved the Beatles. I loved listening to music. I learned how to play the drums a little bit as a kid. And one of the big driving forces behind this path in music for me was my uncle. He always wanted to be this big-time record producer, and he got pretty close to being successful, but he never quite made it. But he was always there, kind of guiding the path. When I was 10 years old, he bought me my first guitar. He paid for me to take guitar lessons. He then, encouraged me to write song lyrics, to learn how to sing. He started setting up times for me to jam with my friends. And eventually, he pushed me to recording my first 3-song demo and was the one that put together all the connections to get the record executive interested to come see me with the intent of possibly signing me. I got up on stage in front of all of these people with this enormous opportunity, and I basically choked. Nothing happened. I didn't perform well enough. The guy wasn't interested. He told me, well, let's see him practice and play some more, and then I'll come back and we'll see where he is. And it just ended up crumbling. And many years later, I began to understand why. The reason it didn't go anywhere was because it wasn't what I really wanted yet for myself at the time. It was too much influenced by what my uncle had wanted. I did love music, yes, but I wasn't in it enough. I wasn't the driving force behind it. I wasn't ready. And so nothing happened. And what I also learned was that because of how much he wanted to be really successful, subconsciously, I felt that pressure within myself and my system. He didn't mean to do it. He didn't do anything wrong. This is just how these patterns in our childhoods work. But I felt this intense pressure to be really big. And I never really just got the time to play around and experiment and see. And so the whole thing just crashed. This is a very common thing that happens. So many of the people that I work with are not even clear on what their path is or if they even want what they're doing because they're still stuck on some level fighting their parents' influence. They have not yet fully extricated themselves subconsciously from their mother, father, guidance figures, and their past. And if you stay tuned, I'm going to show you a few things you can do to actually separate. There are two primary things that happen when you're being too influenced by your past. One, the path you're going down is actually not your path. It comes from, like I said, your parents. It comes from another figure. It came from outside influences, pressures, pushing. It's not even what you want. The second thing that happens is you are going down the path that you want, but there's all these kind of knots in it because it's not pure. It's being influenced by your parents' motivations, or you're rebelling against them. You're doing it because they told you you couldn't. There's all this kind of energetic and emotional stuff in your subconscious, a lot of resentment, a lot of frustration. And until this is really cleared, it's very hard for us to get clarity on our path and in order to feel like we're all in and happy about it. Can you relate to this? Do you have a path that either you just feel like you're doing for someone else, or you're struggling, you're like fighting with it? So, what are three things you can do to stop being influenced by your parents and your past? The third one is probably the most powerful. The first thing you can do is cut ties, energetic cords and ties to them. We are all influenced subconsciously by people's thoughts, their intentions, and what happens is we develop these cords to our mother, our father, and other important figures in our life. These are subconscious cords that push and pull on you. And until you cut these cords, you cannot fully know your own energy or what it is you really want to do, what it is your higher self really wants you to do. Ask your higher self, your spirit guides, to cut these energetic cords and see them in your mind severed. It can be very difficult because they can be very ingrained, but that's the first step. Number two, the second thing that you can do, research what happened to your mother and father, if you can, in their childhoods. And what this will help you do is reframe how you're seeing their influence on you. You might be very, very angry because they treated you like shit, and that's very valid. But when you can understand the trauma that they went through, the things that they had to experience, you begin to see that as crappy as it may have been, they were doing the best that they could for you. And that ultimately they went through hell too. This does not excuse their behavior, but what it does is it gives you an understanding and a compassion of where they came from, which helps you to let go of that influence, that negative emotional and psychological influence. And the number three thing you can do, and this is the most powerful thing I have found, in your own memory, in your own mind, and it helps if you're connected to your nervous system, so you might want to meditate a little bit before you do this. Go back to things that happened in your past that jump out at you. When did you first feel your mother or father's influence? When do you remember being shut down and not allowed to do something that you wanted to do? When do you remember being told where you needed to go? Go back in time and say what it is you wanted to say and act out what it is you wanted to do. A lot of times as kids, we actually just want to run away because we're stuck. We can't get away from our parents when we're 7 years old. If they're yelling at you in their room, you can't just walk out of the room, but your body, your whole self wanted to run. See yourself doing this. Feel yourself running away in your imagination and in your body, and notice what happens. Notice if energy starts to release. Notice if you can actually run away from your past physically and find somewhere safe. That's the important part. Run to somewhere that feels safe. It could be a field, it could be a grandparent, it could be your future, anything that makes you feel safe. You can do this multiple times. You can do it once a day. And invariably, this will help you start to sever the ties to your past and get more clarity on who you are and what you really want. So please let me know if this helped. For anybody interested in doing one-on-one coaching with me, I am taking a few new applicants. There's a link in the description below so you can apply. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me a great deal. And thank you so much. Until next time.